Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight's selection is Rise of the Beasts Transformers. This story takes place in two universes. The first one is the Maximals universe, and the leader of the villain crew this time is named Scourge, who has a master who he relies on, and his job is to get the warp key from the Maximals so his master can eat planets. It's similar to Galactus in Marvel, and the Maximals have taken an oath to protect life at all costs. As there's a leader who defends his homeland against Scourge, but tells Optimus, or not Optimus, Optimus Primal to take the warp key and leave, and they wind up on Earth in 1994. And that's where we meet the character with the last name Diaz from Brooklyn. How original that is! And he's got a little brother, and he's an ex-military looking for a job. And his brother is one of those conspiracy people whose no names over the airwaves, so they nicknamed themselves Sonics and Tails, which is a nice nod to another Paramount property. Let me know if you want to do a Sonic review. I'll watch those movies for you guys if you want. And so anyway, he's trying to get to a job interview. He's trying to take his brother to the hospital. But they owe so much to the hospital that they're not allowed in, and they can't take him to emerge because it's not critical. So Diaz tells him we gotta go. Tries to make his job interview. They tell him it's been canceled because he's not a team player, and it's just a weird start to a movie as he starts to become more selfish, and he gets desperate because he's trying to help his mom and his brother. They're struggling in a one bedroom or two bedroom apartment, whatever it is. So he gets involved with the guy on the street corner who's his good friend who for some reason likes Twizzlers. He sets him up with a carjacking, but little does he know that the car he gets in is Mirage, who's an Autobot, and because Scourge showed up on Earth because he read the signals for the warp key. Uh, Optimus Prime is like paging all Autobots, and of course, this leads into a high-speed chase. And it's funny because his friend, who thinks they're still doing the heist, is like control the car, and he's like the car's driving itself. And they're in a police chase, and he's not even doing the moves. It's Mirage who's doing it, and he gets them to the warehouse safely. And he's like, I thought after the high speed chase we were boys. And Diaz has a pipe, and he's like, okay, and he's getting ready, and he's like, oh, good, the rest of the crew's here. I'd put that pipe down, and Optimus Prime is like, you shouldn't have brought him here. He's human. Of course, Optimus Prime is distrusting, and Bumblebee is like, they are my friends. And then Optimus is like, I know one was good to you. And then he tried to do the whole, you can't handle the truth. And he's like, I don't want you going to the drive-in anymore. And of course, this was after they found out the key was in the museum, and one of the Maximals was kind of like a statue, which was the Airhawk, I think his name was. But anyway, so they find the key, and Scourge breaks into the museum to take it, as the Autobots just want to go home, so they got Diaz to go into the museum to try to take it. He finds it, but it's in the possession of Alea Wallace, who is this old time like historian who has a boss that takes credit for everything she does, which is typical. But anyway, so they're fighting, and then when they realize how much trouble they're in with Scourge trying to blast the museum, she's like, "It's yours." And then the Autobots show up, and just when it looks like all hope is lost, the Maximal Bird shows up to help them out, and they barely escape. But Scourge has half the key, and he thinks he's succeeded already. And he brings it to his master, and his master's like, "If you don't bring me the other half of the key, then we're gonna have a problem." So he sends him out searching for it, but the Autobots have to find it too, even though the Primals have it. The other Maximal Primals, she, the bird thought that they might be the last one. Anyway, it takes them to Peru, and of course, one of the Transformers is a plane. And, at this point, because of the battle before, Bumblebee was taken out and placed on the rock to recuperate, but they don't have the power to do that. And so they go to Peru. They stumble upon this temple after working their way through a parade under the guidance of the Autobots. And so they stumble across the Transformers logo, go into this cave. They end up in one of the jungles of the Peru, where it's revealed that the other primals are there, including Optimus Primal, who's a Maximal, I guess. And Optimus is like, "You trusted humans with the key?" "Yes. Earth has been a safe haven," he says. "And the humans are worth saving because there's more to them than meets the eye." And when they were on the plane, Diaz was telling Wallace that, we need to destroy this thing so they can't get back home. And we have to protect ourselves. And eventually, they do come up with a plan, or because the Maximals already have the second half of the key, Diaz is going to destroy it. And Optimus, worried about his people, is like, "Don't do that. We can't get home." And Diaz relents. Scourge gets the second half of the key and tags the Bird Maximal with the metal thing where it's burned, but it's also a mind control. So it's developed slowly, and the Bird Maximal is actually battling with Maximal Prime, and so Maximal has to remember the oath of will protect life at any cost. Takes out the Bird Maximal, and he repeats this to Optimus, who at this point is still thinking like an Autobot. And there's a line in this movie where he's like, "He is not the Optimus Prime that I remember, or that I've heard stories about." And, Optimus has to relearn to trust and believe in people. And there's a point where he's having a conversation with Diaz before they get ready for the big battle. And he's like, "I should have, I was just looking after my people." And he's like, "I can't even blame you for that because I'd do the same thing," Diaz told him. And he's like, "We should have been fighting the darkness together because this war won't end until one everybody becomes one, whether it be good or bad." And he's like, "I'm not giving up yet," because at this point Scourge has both the keys, and they figure out that there was a dislodge code for the warp key that would shut down Scourge, which leads to the big battle. And so Mirage kind of distracts Scourge because he can be multiple things at once until he gets hit, and then he gets taken out, or so it would seem, protecting Diaz. And Diaz is ready to give up, and his little brother's like, "Show them who you are, and you've always been there for me, so I'm going to be there for you." and Mirage gives him his suit. And Scourge is like, "You think you could beat me by yourself?" And Optimus Prime shows up, and he's like, "He's not alone." And then Scourge's main henchman is like, "Somebody give me a challenge." And then Bumblebee and Prime will team up to take him out. And then it becomes just Prime versus Scourge, and Prime wins. But there's a funny thing. Just when it looked like hope was all lost, the Transformer, who was a plane, comes in and drops Bumblebee off, and there's like, and then of course he's got LL Cool J's "Don't Call It a Comeback" playing as he's doing that. So they end up shutting down Scourge and stopping Unicron, who's the big bad, but they lose the warp key in the process. And the Autobots, or Optimus Prime, is like, "We gained a new ally." And of course, there's an end credit scene where he gets the job and he's like, "I'm not telling you nothing about Peru." But they already knew, because this movie sets up for a G.I. Joe crossover, the end credit scene. So until next time, may your ego come from a place that keeps you humble. And before you roll out, hit that subscribe button. I'm Mo Money. Mamba out.